Well, hey, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about having a new baby, building a brand, and who's going to win the Masters. Come on, this is episode 30 with Dylan Rizzo. Awesome. Here we go. We're live. Well, hey, Dylan, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
What's up, my man? Thank you so much for having me. Excited.
Yeah, of course, dude. Dude, it has been many years. I think it's been college since the last time I've seen you, dude. I think it was like sitting across from the coffee
days.
shop there, dude. Yeah. Just serving you away drinks all day.
Back at SCU.
Yeah. How
Crazy.
have you been,
I know,
man?
it's been years.
Yeah.
I've been good, man. It's been a big year for me. I got married in July.
Let's go.
And then we just figured out, hey, we figured out marriage in the first few weeks. We're just gonna add a kid into this. So we had a honeymoon baby, and he just came to us about 12 days ago.
Man.
So we're over the moon, and new parents, newlyweds, all in the same year. So it's been a big year, but very
Exciting,
grateful.
dude.
Very blessed.
100%, dude. That was actually, I was going to say when we did the show, that was like, we rescheduled this podcast once, and that's like for the best ever reason is because you guys were going to the hospital to have a baby, which is 100% more important than doing something like this, dude. How is it 2 weeks in with your baby? What's your kid's name?
Redding Robert Rizzo. So we went with the all R's. Hopefully he can say his R's. We thought about that. We were like, we really need him to be able to pronounce his R's.
Yeah.
That would
He's gonna have to figure that out quick. Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great. But man, we're loving it. I didn't realize I hadn't been around a lot of newborns. They are so small. So
Dude,
it's
tiny.
kind of
Yeah.
in this time, like they're so small, they're so delicate. So I'm like the careful dad, and my wife's father is a pediatrician. So I'm like texting him all the time. I'm like, he's breathing slightly heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, you've got the
Um,
connections there. That's great.
Right. Which
Yeah.
is major to have that in the back pocket. And then my wife's a beast. She's been dominating it. So we're over the moon. He is 12 days old, so he's kind of a master's baby.
Oh, dude.
So we'll be able to tell him who won on his birthday masters this year, whether it's Bryson or Rory. But they just, I think this first week it's like they kind of are eating, they're sleeping, they're up for a little bit, they can't see well. So
Yeah.
we're adjusting, man. Yeah. And he's changing every day. It's crazy.
I get that, dude. We have our second kid now. My second son is almost 2, actually, so it's crazy how it flies. But my
Wow.
oldest just turned 4 on Wednesday, and he was a master's baby too. Like I remember in 2021 when he was born. 2021. Yeah, there we go. 2021 when he was born. We were like at the hospital watching the Masters as I'm just chilling there. Cause there's that time where you're at the hospital and you're just like, all right, he's just sleeping for a long time. Your wife's asleep. You're like, I'm going to watch the Masters. This is a great opportunity to just chill and have nothing else to do, I honestly don't remember who won, though.
Right.
100%. Yeah. But dude, it's so fun, man. When you get to, I remember that feeling when you have your first, you're like, oh my, this kid is so breakable. And then you have your second, like I have 2 boys, and you get to your second and you're like, oh, these kids are fine. Like he can roll around, he'll make it. Your second kid definitely gets more resilient.
Yeah, that's what everybody tells me. They're like, bro, give it a few months. You'll be throwing that dude around. You'll be wrestling. And I'm like, I know. I gotta get past the 2-3 week period.
100%, dude. So, well, now that since it is Masters Week, are you pretty locked into that?
I have been, man. I was able to actually, able to play golf on Thursday. So
Nice.
within the first week of my son being here, I was able to play golf, which I don't know if that was like a trick question or my wife was like manipulating me. I'm like, is it really is it really okay? Like,
Yeah.
can I record your response here? But I got to play golf on Thursday, so I've been pretty tuned in, man. I feel like some years, like you said, there's a lot going on where I haven't been able to be as locked in. But with the storyline this year, with
Hmm.
kind of Bryson and Rory going into today, I think it'll be a memorable one. So I've been pretty locked in with it. Yeah,
It's
I'm
great,
thinking.
dude.
I predicted Bryson to win. So I
Hmm.
think if Bryson wins, I make myself look smart. But I was even watching it today and like Rory doubled the first hole and then he kind of like it got even. He went down for a hole and I was like, why am I'm kind of now cheering for Rory now that he's the underdog. So I don't know. I don't know what I think.
Dude, I love it. I love how fun like golf has gotten in the last couple of years, you know? Like I've watched it, dude. When I was a kid, I did like the first tee programs and I've always kind of been into golf, but like the hype around it now with like the storylines, like people really like getting like pumped and excited about like the Masters. Have you been there before, by the way? Have you ever gotten to go to the Masters?
No, I haven't. This me and my wife were talking about it. I'm like, well, now that I had a son, basically Masters Week, I'm like, that's going to be a high pressured gift every year.
Oh yeah,
But
dude.
no, I haven't been. I've, when I was living in New York, I never really had the chance to because we were there from like 2017 to 2020, so life was
Yeah.
moving so fast. And then I got back to Birmingham, pandemic hit, and then I feel like the past few years is when I'm like, okay, I really need to get out to the Masters. I just went to the Waste Management for the first time,
Oh, that's cool. Is
so
that
that
fun?
was actually my first. Yeah, crazy enough, that was my first golf tournament I've ever been to.
Hmm.
So it was an incredible experience. I do feel like it is kind of a one of a kind. Like it's on that bucket list of golf tournaments you want to go to. But at the same time, if you're really into the golf side, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to go to another one that is a little bit more chill. Now that I got that off the bucket list, because waste
Yeah.
management is epic, but it's known for kind of the party, so many other things where it kind of the golf almost gets a
It's the second
little,
piece. Yeah.
white noise. Yeah.
100%, dude. Yeah, I'd love to. I've never been to a golf like tournament. I'd love to go to Valspar because I know that's kind of closer down here. Um, and now that, dude, I played. Right? Isn't that's in Florida, right? That's kind of out there.
Yeah, I think the Valspar, because are you in Lakeland?
Yep, Lakeland. Yeah,
Yeah, it may be Orlando. It's a shame they don't have anything at Stream Song.
yeah, dude. I actually haven't played Stream Song. Now I did like kind of middle of last year. I'm trying to remember when that was, but I played Cabot like with some friends. Played 18 at Cabot, and oh, it was
Okay, talk to me.
incredible, dude. It's such a cool because like I've being a you probably get this being a dad, being dad of two, like having a busy schedule, like doing a golf course like that isn't something like I'm just able to do every so often, you know? So it's kind of like a once in
Right.
a couple of years thing. But the experience that they give you there is wild, dude. It's the staying there is top notch. The way that they take care of you, bring you up to the first tee, the cookie, the like all the stuff like that. And it's just so well taken care of, dude. Um, it also is like it's walking too, so it's like a huge day, right? It's like walking down here in like
Yeah.
Central Florida. But it was incredible, dude. I actually played really like decent too. I'm not like an incredible golfer, but I probably had like my best 18 in like a while. I think it was just because of the
Sometimes
pressure,
those environments,
Yeah.
yeah, it brings it out of you, man.
Yeah, 100%. And then I'll go play a course that's like $20 and I'll just lose like that. That's how I know. I lost maybe two balls at Cabot. And I went and played a course a couple weeks afterwards that was like $20 and I lost like two sleeves. So I know that's how
Right.
that course like brought the
Yeah,
best
you're
out of
like,
me,
that's funny how that works.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
that's how I've been with a lot of those courses I've loved. Like was able to play Stream Song back in the
Hmm.
day actually, which probably would have been like 2016, 2017. I think when they first was that kind of when it was first opened, Stream
I
Song?
think so.
And then
I
they
feel like I remember that.
slowly,
Yeah.
slowly started to expand. I think it was 2015 I played it, and it was the red and the blue course.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know now I think they have the black, and then they have the whole like staying experience and the mini like
Yeah.
the mini golf, the par 3 course. So I love special spots like that. But I've only heard amazing things about the
Cabot.
place you were just talking
Yeah.
about.
It's great.
Yeah,
What is your favorite? Is Stream Song like your favorite course you've played before, or do you have like a top notch one? Like if I could
man,
go back today, this is where I'd
I
go.
would. Yeah, I mean, I would have to put it up there in terms of like it was. I'll say this: it was probably some of the first like really nice golf I had ever played.
Yeah.
I had just started to play golf probably a year before. I played Stream Song, which would have actually been the year that I was at SEU, which
Mm-hmm.
was 2015. I went and played it one time with some of the Duran boys. We love those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
We went and played it, and it was probably the first time that I had played like a real, I didn't know it, but like a legit like, okay, this is like there could be a tournament here. This is not like your local muni. And I
Mm-hmm.
definitely learned why. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I lost 3 dozen balls. My 94 at the Muni translated into a 125 at
Jeez.
Screen Song
Yeah.
Red, and I think my caddy hates me. But I did love like that is one thing I loved about Stream Song, and I do love. I think in terms of talking about some of the favorite courses that I've played,
Mm-hmm.
I love playing with a caddy. I don't know if that's like I love feeling like I'm really like yeah Sunday at the Masters out there. But I
Yeah.
think walking with a caddy when I think about some of my favorite rounds, like there's a course here in Birmingham, or just right outside of Birmingham called Shoal Creek.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't. No.
It's kind of a famous course because they had the PGA Championship, I believe it was here, years and years ago. Lee Trevino won it.
Yeah.
So like legend, and it's caddies, it's walking, and I can be such like a fast golfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm almost like the worst golfer is like the really slow guy who you're just waiting on, or the group in front of you. I
Yeah.
can almost be so quick. So it kind of forces me to slow down. So the chances I get to like walk and then have a caddy, I feel like I look back on those and it's like Shoal Creek, Stream Song. I
Mm-hmm.
played Torrey Pines, great course. I've gotten to do Pebble,
Oh wow,
of
that's
all three
awesome.
of the ones out at
Yeah.
Pebble, which are great. So I've been able to check off like I've done Pinehurst, been able to check off some of those ones that like I want to on my just golf list.
Yeah.
And then now there's like some other ones. I haven't done much Northeast golf. So like
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to play some up north, but I've hit a lot of the California spots. But Florida's got great golf. Alabama's
Yeah.
got great private, great public. It's kind of a golf city.
For sure. Yeah, dude. I played with a cabot or a cabot. I played with a caddy like a handful of times, and I enjoy it. I think it really depends on like the caddy you get, and like I know everybody's out there just trying to do their best. The first time I ever played with a caddy, it was a like teenage dude. Summer job or whatever the case was. And I could just tell, dude, I was not having a great day. And I could just tell he was so over me. Like at one point, I think we were on a couple
Right.
holes in, and he just looked at me. He's like, "Do you want me to hit this one for you?" And that was the moment where
No.
I was like, "No, I don't. Please just let me do this." But dude, at Cabot, I will say, we had. I wish I could remember his name. We had one of the best caddies. He was just like straight from New York. He actually had like moved here because this is a relatively new course still, like Cabot. He just
Yeah.
moved here like a year ago from New York. I didn't know this. Like apparently caddies can like transfer. So like he was a caddy up there and they transferred him down to Florida. So I don't know how all that works, but he was down here, dude, just a solid guy. And he was like just ripping darts the whole time, but a great dude. Like he would be like, "Hey,
Yes.
you grab this club, you hit it in that direction where my hand is." And dude, every time it was like just perfect. I played the best. Again, I played some of the best golf I've played in a long time. And I think it was that dude's, like a lot of it was because of him. I wish I could remember his name. But yeah, caddy is fun,
Right.
especially when it's the right guy. it's a great, like, it's also a great experience to have someone there that's a little bit seasoned that can also kind of give you points on a course that you've obviously never experienced before, you know?
1000%. Yeah, no, I feel like the caddy thing, like I have, you either love it or you hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if the caddy's giving me, I want him to tell me to do something that I'm like, wait, what? Because if
A
he's
hundred
giving me the
percent.
same
Yeah.
advice as I'm giving myself, I'm like, okay, that's why I'm in this position.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a at 19 handicap.
Right.
So he's like,
Well, that's
yeah,
what
hit
he
it
did.
here,
He
and you're
pointed
like,
at me. He was
no
like, "Hey,
way.
hit it that way." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like it felt just so wrong, you know? He's like, "Hit it that way. Trust me." And dude, it was solid every time. If I ever go back, if I ever get the chance to go back, and hopefully I do, maybe someday you and I can go play that, dude. That would be fun.
You have
But we
to
got to find
give
that
me
guy.
his name, or
I
we'll
know.
find
We
him.
we had 8 guys out there, and both of our 2 groups of foursomes had great caddies. I remember their caddy being this like Viking of a human. He was the biggest guy I've seen. But both caddies were really awesome. But anyways, dude, I want to
Yeah.
talk to you a little bit about Baggy Golf because obviously this is something that you've had for quite a while now, and I even feel like I remember when it was kind of first getting launched out into where you are today. So, yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about Baggy Golf, what you've started, and where it is, like where it's currently at. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like, yeah, you would have been in that early wave.
Mm-hmm.
I started Baggy back 2019. So like late 2019, launched it like March 2020, went live with the actual like collection,
Yeah.
but kind of started building it like late 2019. And I had just moved back from New York. I had spent a few years living in New York, upper Jersey, New York, Manhattan area.
Right.
Didn't play golf at all. Like wasn't even really in like the fashion or clothing world up there either. But was around a lot of creative people who were kind of in and out of different industries in the
Mm-hmm.
creative world. So moved back to Birmingham, and I was actually living with my parents, and they live on a golf course here,
Yeah.
and the pandemic had just hit. So it was like, okay, the only thing there is to do is golf. So I started golfing a lot. I'd always kind of was drawn to like that early on nostalgic era of like kind of sports in general, where it was like this baggy clothing, kind of like early 2000s. So I
Right.
started Baggy Pants Golf just as a mood board.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing a lot of golf, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna kind of post like things that are on brand. Like, I was posting like Derek Jeter, like playing golf, or
Right.
like
Yeah.
just kind of things that were like cultural icons or people that had played golf or had been, photographed on the course. And then kind of started building that a little bit. It gained a little bit of a following. And I texted my buddy, and I was like, "Hey, dude, like it's coming up on like the new year." I was like, "Hey, I want to do like a few hats, like just for like me and a few of my guys who like know I have the page. Like I might
Mm-hmm.
just put like Baggy or something on there." Definitely wasn't thinking like a brand at all. And then he sent me back like a few hats, and then like threw a few like hoodie graphics in, and it was like in that moment I was like, "Man,
This could be
I want to
something.
turn this into a full blown clothing brand." Yeah, it was like kind of one of those like moments you look back on. And I, from then on, kind of decided to switch it where it was going to be a clothing label. And I had kind of had some buddies who, back in that like 2018, 2019, I feel like now it's a lot more normal, and even, there's more resources, and it's more doable for anyone to just go start a brand who maybe
Yeah.
doesn't have like investor backing or fashion studies.
Sure. Yeah.
Like there's kind of playbooks and routes that you can follow to do it. But I had had a few buddies who had started brands, and I was kind of helping a little bit and watched them. And I was like, man, I think maybe I could do this as well. And I thought like the angle I had on it, I was like, I'm gonna do this kind of golf inspired clothing label. So I didn't really set out like I'm gonna be the next,
Mm-hmm.
FootJoy Titleist, or at that time kind of who's kind of pioneered the whole space of kind of fashion and golf and streetwear is Malbon. Like I
Yeah.
didn't set out. I was like, man, I want to be the next Malbon. I was like, I want to do this golf inspired kind of clothing idea, creative idea. And then that was probably 20, yeah, that was March of 2020 when I launched it. Or no, March of 2021, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here, yeah, about 4 years later and still going. So that's kind of the origin story.
I think I still have
And
one of those
then
original
have,
hats. I think it's
you
the
probably do. Why do
visor,
I
the
feel
white
like you have
visor.
a OG visor?
I do. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, dude, what's crazy is
Yes.
and this speaks to exactly what you're saying. I loved when I saw that visor. Obviously, wanted to support you, wanted to support the work that you were doing, but it took me back. So when I was a kid, I grew up in like South Georgia. My long story short, like my soccer coach as a kid was actually a former like champion of the Masters. His name's Robert Mize. I don't know if you remember if that name rings a bell or
Wow.
not, but
Bro, I do. I feel like there's some epic photos of him
there
like
is. So there's a
out on the
photo of him,
coast.
and
Like,
that's what I remember is like there's a photo of him that I used to see because like it was the golf course in our city. Obviously, he won the Masters, so he was a big deal there. But he was he was my soccer coach for a while too, which was fun. But there's a
yeah,
picture of
like
him in like a
sidebar.
yeah. There's a picture of him in like this purple striped shirt, black pants, but he has one of those like kind of the older school visors, right, with the higher top.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this makes me feel like, yeah, this reminds me of Robert Mize's hat. And so I was like, dude, I was pumped to get it because it does have that cool like 90s feel to it. And honestly, there's probably a piece of like what you were doing now that like so much of the 90s kind of style and vibe is back. You were kind of a little bit ahead of that. Do you feel like that or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was definitely one of those things where like I've told people, and sometimes I don't know if it makes sense, but I'm like, I think if I really would have thought too long about, okay, I'm gonna start this clothing brand,
Mm-hmm.
like what am I gonna call it? You know what I mean? Like what's gonna be brandable? What's gonna like, be able to, outpace time? Like what's gonna be cool in 5 years? I feel like I would have really probably overthought it just into oblivion.
Yeah.
And the fact that I named it Baggy Pants Golf was literally because I was going to simply just post dudes like OG Tiger, Larry
Mm-hmm.
Mize, like David Duval, Phil, these guys wearing just like crazy baggy pants on the golf course
Yeah.
because there was those years.
I think it was Larry
So I
Mize,
just
wasn't
named
it?
it Baggy Pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Robert
So
Mize was
it
the
was
kid on my team. There we go. So it was Larry Mize. There we go. Yeah.
Larry Mize.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was literally just gonna do that, and then out of that, like the word baggy kind of covertly, like subtly became very brandable.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely also that kind of like last few years era of people like using the term like getting in your bag and different stuff. So there was kind of like some random things that happened with like the word baggy, and then like I would say fashion in a overall sense has kind of moved into like the baggy category over the past few years.
Yeah, yeah.
Just in terms of like fits and different stuff is like almost every brand is doing some sort of like baggy,
Something.
line
Yeah.
or collection. So I do feel like, yeah, what I was doing was unique, and but it was also a different time in the sense of, there was Malbon was out there, who was kind of the first brand I had seen that was really doing anything
Stood out. Yeah.
in clothing and golf that like resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like I loved like your classic Titleist, FootJoy, all that stuff, and then I loved like your off white and different stuff over here. But there was nothing that like resonated with me that was kind of blending the two worlds, I
For sure.
guess, even with like the youthful culture. So there was Malbon, and then there was a few other brands that were kind of doing like golf themed streetwear kind of hybrid golf brands, but really wasn't like it is today. I would say today is like a very very almost like any market becoming very saturated.
Mm-hmm.
So while I think it's overall a great thing, I do feel like there was benefits to early on being kind of one of the first, if you will, that was doing kind of something that was crossing over golf, kind
Yeah.
of street fashion, whatever.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It is cool to see. You're right. I think there's definitely a lot of brands out there now that have either like come up. I was actually talking about this with somebody else like a couple of weeks ago who was like, I think they were playing around with building like doing a golf brand, and every name that they thought of, they Googled, and it was already a golf brand, like it's already out there. So there's like tons of them out there. It's cool that it's obviously it's like saturated the market, like you said, but it's also cool that it's like highlighting like the sport has grown so much in the last couple of years of blending like, oh, like cool fashion, like what you can like what you'd actually like to wear and introducing people to the sport in that way. So it's cool to see. I know from kind of maybe shifting to this a little bit too, like your world obviously for beforehand was just knowing you was kind of like the church world. And you were probably more so in the creative area, right? Of church and ministry.
Yeah, I mean, I was up in New York for a few years doing ministry there, kind of
Yeah.
more just in an assistant kind of utility role. And then when I moved back to Birmingham, I still was in ministry up until at a full time level
Mm-hmm.
up until January of 2024. So I actually built Baggy while I was still I was the college pastor here
Yeah.
at our local church at Highlands in Birmingham.
It's awesome.
So that, yeah, definitely my world growing up and creative side, but yeah, I was doing kind of the whole A to Z, leading the college ministry here in Birmingham. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely the background.
Yeah, I was just it's cool to hear, man. And I was curious like too, was there ever a point in that where you're like, "Oh man, I'd love to." Was there ever like a inkling where you were like, "Oh, at some point I'm going to start my own business or I'm going to like do my own creative thing?" Or I guess like you've said, this was just kind of a random, "Hey, this happened," and you rode the wave.
No, man. I think I mean, you would probably say the same thing about your life. Like, not at all how I scripted it.
Mhm.
Which I think that's how like God was all over it in the sense of like I think I would have always said if you would have asked me before I even started Baggy, like one day, hey, would you like to be kind of in this world of clothing or design in some sort? I would have said, oh, 1000%. But like I didn't study it. Like I don't
Yeah.
know anything about it. Like I don't have any experience in it. Like I don't see in which way I would like get into that world. So I think there's a cool aspect to that, and then I think building it while I was building the ministry side of things
Mhm.
was really cool because I think there was often times where I was like, man, okay, do I just focus in on the ministry, or do I just do Baggy? And I think because I had so many things going on, it really taught me a lot of things about business.
Yeah.
Because Baggy was really a case study to start. So it was like, hey, let's see if this even does anything. But I was thinking legitimately, like maybe I was going to sell one or two hats on the first collection.
Right.
And it totally like, guys like you were like, hey, I'm going to go support this guy and buy a visor.
What
And
was
enough
that
of you
like?
did where I was
Yeah,
like,
what
oh,
was the
okay.
the first drop? Was it like did it blow you away? Like what was that first time like?
It did. I mean, like totally like I mean, I was just fulfilling it all like out of my mom's garage, like totally blew me away. Really like kind of there was like a 2 or 3 day period where I was like just like over the moon, like wow, this has really resonated with people and
Mhm.
people are spending their hard-earned money on it. And then like that kind of setting in of like, oh, what you created is just like this creative outlet for you is now like a profitable small business that you have to manage and
Yeah.
scale and track and analyze. So it's cool to see even what I'm doing now with this company that a business partner and I started, where we're actually producing and doing a lot of the creative solutions behind apparel for churches and for brands.
Oh, really?
So we do production of apparel, rebranding, graphic design. But I wouldn't have been able to start this company in January of 2024
Mhm.
if I wouldn't have started the Baggy thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one thing has led to another because I was able to kind of learn about the clothing side because I was on the brand side where I was working with these printers and these production warehouses and stuff. And I was just kind of running into issues like they were taking too long. I couldn't get in touch with anybody. And I was like, man, actually, if I could maybe do this a little bit more efficient, a little bit better, collab with a few people, I feel like I could do this even better for brands like me or
Yeah.
churches like me who are doing apparel. So, me just starting Baggy kind of on a whim now is the reason I even have, one of the things I'm doing. So it's cool to like, look back at it and be like, oh, okay, everything kind of chronologically makes sense.
Dude,
But when I
yeah.
started Baggy, it was for sure not like, oh, this is going to be something you're talking about with Alec in 5 years on a podcast or something you're still going to be working on. It was like, oh, this is kind of something fun you mess around with
Yeah,
on your
it's
free
crazy how
time
that
when
happens,
you're
dude.
on the course.
Yeah, I want to learn a little bit more about like that other business too, but what you're saying, like, dude, I think it just speaks to, I've had so many times like that in my life where the only thing I can say afterwards is like, it truly is just like the goodness of God. It's stepping into something or taking a risk on something or whatever it is and saying like, I have no idea why I'm doing this. Like you probably felt that. I felt that way before, like
Yeah.
stepping into a new role or a new job or whatever and being like, what am I doing? Like, and then being 3, 4, 5 years down the road and looking back and saying, oh, if I wouldn't have taken that risk or if I wouldn't have done that particular role or whatever the case is, I wouldn't have been prepared for like what I'm doing today or maybe like just what I needed to personally like grow in.
Right. No, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think it's exactly, brings me it's exactly like fatherhood in the sense of like,
Mm-hmm.
man, like I don't know what is this going to feel like? What is this going to be like? Like, am I ready for this? This is my
Yeah.
first time doing this. But in anything, it's like, yeah, like, am I technically, logically on paper ready for anything? Not necessarily, but then once you get to it, it's like, oh, okay, the things that I developed in the lead up time, the waiting time, like all of it made sense in the right timing. So
100%. Yeah.
that's definitely been something with fatherhood where, you have different people, hey, this is going to be easy, this is going to be tough. And I'm like, you know what? I can just do everything I can prepare to do leading up. And then once that baby comes, he's now our responsibility. And you get to just adapt and, love every day of it. But it's definitely one of those things you look back on and it's like, man, I didn't expect to, start Baggy and it be
Mm-hmm.
something that I'm still working on. And even, like meeting my wife. We met late 2023, dated for 3 months, got engaged, married. So it was even that, like that moved so quick. And if you would
Yeah.
have told me, 2 years ago that I would have a son and,
Be married and everything. Yeah.
at this point, yeah, be married, have a family, I would have been like, oh, no, 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 that's years down the
Yeah.
road.
It is cool though, man. And I think that's an encouragement to like maybe people who'd be listening to this podcast too. You may be feeling like, oh, the thing you want, like you want to have kids, you want to be married, you want to start your business, whatever. There's this feeling of like getting started with something and feeling, oh, but the outcome is so far away, or like that's not going to happen for me in multiple years. And it's crazy what can happen in like a matter of months, a matter of like a year. And I think so much of it just takes like, I'm sure for you, like stepping, like asking your wife out on a date, like starting that relationship, like obviously being engaged, like starting Baggy, all of those sort of things. It just takes a little bit like a step of faith that you look back in 2 years and maybe not even 2 years, maybe like a couple of months. And you're like, wow, I can't believe where I'm at now?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's always like my encouragement or anything I'd say to people who are like,
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody has good ideas, right? Like people can think of a good company idea or a cool, a cool song or whatever it may be. But it's the people who actually like wake up the next morning and are like, okay, I'm actually going to like go do this. So I'm going to, like you said, take a step out and like try this thing because I think, yeah, like you never know what could happen until you try it. So I'm so glad I'm not sitting here today, like, dang, like I've seen some other guys build brands, and I'm like, I had that idea, back in 2019, and
100%.
I
Yeah.
didn't follow through with it. Because I think honestly, if you were to tell me like, okay, Dylan, go build Baggy and start Baggy right now, you know, in 2025 and do what you've done with it in 4 years that I have the previous 4 years, I don't even think I could do it. Like you said, I think I try to look up names for golf brands and every single one would be taken, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
so I think even the timing in that sense, it was like, I'm so glad I just was like, because there was even people back then, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna start this golf thing. There were people like, and rightfully so, like, dude, that makes no sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
number one, the kind of method behind it doesn't even make sense. Golf and fashion, like, why did these things even need to coexist? And then number two, like, okay, you just moved back to Birmingham, like you're working at the church, like, is this something, you need to be putting time to, all these things. But I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that
That you
like
did it. Yeah.
in that moment I didn't just be like, I may start it next month. I was
Right,
like,
dude.
you know what? I'm gonna just start the Instagram and start posting and see what happens.
Yeah. And just have fun
And
with it.
now I
Yeah.
have this thing that I've loved to build and has thankfully resonated, and
Mm-hmm.
some people have enjoyed. And it's, I think more than anything, it's like anything in life, it's just opened up a lot of cool doors relationally.
For sure,
So
man. Yeah.
met a lot of cool people, and been able to work with a lot of cool people. So it's been a blessing on all fronts.
It's awesome, man. Yeah. It's cool to see. Like if you're out there and you have like a creative idea or, a dream or whatever, like obviously I'm sure anybody'd say this too, but it's just taking that first step is like always the hardest part, right? Like, yeah, you're right. If you would maybe do it today, like 4 years down the road, it wouldn't be as easy. But because you took like the first step and just had fun with it. I have a mentor too, like for in this podcasting like world, it's just same advice to me. It was, hey, if you don't quit, you win, you know? And same for you. It's like you just started it, had fun with it, kept going, kept building. And I'm sure it got more difficult over the years, right? Thinking of new ideas, thinking of new products. But it's brought you to where you are today and to what the future of, I'm sure the future of what Baggy is, which is actually, I'd love to learn, like, what do you feel like are kind of the next steps for you with what you're doing with Baggy?
Yeah, no, I love it. I think, like I said, the last kind of 3, 4 years, I'd say the landscape has changed a little bit in terms of, when I first launched, everything was just straight e-commerce, and
Mm-hmm.
mostly everything has been, which is online shopping, and it was a lot. The e-com world changed a lot from, like, I would say, like, your 2019 to, say, maybe now, like 2019 to 2022.
Yeah.
A lot of people would refer to as kind of like the golden age of e-com, where it's like you could throw anything online and sell it. Where the landscape now has shifted a little bit, where Meta has kind of changed, ads have kind of changed,
Mm-hmm.
Shopify, Instagram, everything has kind of changed. Because at the end of the day, like, as a brand, like, really your main outlets are going to be, obviously, you have your website, your platform, but then it's your social media pages.
It's
So I always
huge.
joke,
Yeah.
I'm like, whoever would, if there was somebody doing like brand Instagram insurance, you would be a mega billionaire. Because,
Sure. Yeah.
like, I mean, I think about me, like, if my Instagram, got messed up or tanked, it'd be like, that would be a large, major part of my brand that is like, I
Gone.
don't know if I would be able to shake back.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it where it's like, you're building the social media. But I think for the future of Baggy, we've been very heavily e-commerce
Mm-hmm.
based. And I really want to push kind of the next, year, and so on. Kind of some more in real life events, like some in person community type stuff,
Yeah.
where Baggy's doing different golf pop ups or events with different partners in different cities. And then also pushing a little bit more into the retail landscape.
That's so
So
cool.
those are kind of two things that I'm really trying to focus on, because I think, it's really, I wouldn't say easy, but like, it's easy to sell things online, but I think the way you really are able to develop a lot of brand identity, brand loyalty, resonating with your audience is doing a lot of that more what you would say community side of things,
Mm-hmm.
which I think the brands that are really crushing it right now, you see it with a lot of like running brands or like this uptrend and run clubs, like kind of
Yeah.
this community based brand building is like, I think if I were to start a new brand tomorrow, I would almost start it that way. Like
Yeah.
I would create a community around something and then start, selling product. Because I think a lot of the brands that you see, like I said, whether it's these run clubs or like Hoka
Mhm. Well,
or
Nike's doing that
different
too now.
brands,
Like Nike run
ALD,
clubs.
like they do the
Yeah.
story. Yes, they do the story, the community side where it's like, oh, okay, this isn't just a brand I wear, but like this is like something I feel kind of a part of and like I've been able to watch build. So kind of trying to show a little bit more of, behind the scenes of,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
how
great
how
idea.
I built the brand, like how you even sustain a brand. But it's funny you said that, it's cliche if you don't quit, you win. Because me and my wife were joking about that the other day
Yeah.
because I think any business that stays around for a few years, people think is just automatically crushing it. And a lot of times so, but a lot of the companies that I've seen that are still here today that launched maybe 5 years
Mm-hmm.
ago or 10 years ago, or clothing brands specifically, are just the people who like didn't have like two bad collections and just like bail, or
Yeah.
didn't like go off the face of the earth and then just like stop doing the brand totally. It's like if you can just keep going, and I think that's in any company, like if you
Mm-hmm.
just keep going, keep trying to figure out, keep trying to creatively solve problems and issues, it's like I think the future's bright.
100%, dude. Yeah, it goes to every industry, right? Like podcasting too. If we're starting this show like last year, first couple episodes, you're like, oh man, cool, two people. I know my mom listened to it, like,
Right.
and then you grow something and you stay consistent, and yeah, it's just weeding out like some of the negative like thoughts that you probably put in your own head, not necessarily anything else like somebody else is saying. But it takes time. It takes a passion. And to what you said too, the community thing. I think that's such a great idea. I feel like there's probably something to it there of the although COVID feels like forever ago and that whole era of the pandemic and all, it's still like the ripple effects still are taking place. Like I talk to churches all the time and stuff like that where they feel like, okay, we're finally close to like what we were in 2019 again, people wise.
Yeah.
And even so with like brands and awareness, like people are longing now. You're right. Like I'm sure it was everybody was just so used to being indoors, buying online, and now people are longing for community. And you see these run clubs. Like we actually have I have the guy who runs the Nike Run Club over in Tampa coming on the show this week. And like you've seen that one blow up. And I'm sure a huge piece of it, obviously Nike's a great brand, but like a huge piece of it also is that there's 200 or so people that are showing up to hang out and to chat and to talk. And there's a community aspect to it too. Malbon's actually doing some stuff like that too, I think. I think they were at the
Yeah.
Masters, right?
No, they do it. Yeah, I think they did like a cool like whole Malbon experience at Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
And then I even, like I have a buddy right now that I'm watching who's kind of building something in the golf space, but he's taking the route that we're kind of talking about where he's developing instead of, launching this clothing brand and going to market, advertise to all these people and build up people who know about your brand and brand awareness. He's kind of doing it by just throwing these like in-person golf meetups like
Yeah.
throughout LA and surrounding areas. And then you do, let's say you do five of those and 20 people show up. Well, now you have 120 people. You have 150 people who know about your brand, who have experienced like kind of the brand or an event that's adjacent with it, rather than having to go market and get 150 people to, financially and emotionally invest into your brand.
Yeah.
He's doing it kind of that community based way. And I
Hmm.
think, if there was anyone out there who was asking me like, man, I'm trying to start a brand that like sticks out or, anything like that, I would be like, yeah, try to build a in person or some type of way that your audience can feel like they're a part of the brand.
100%, dude. That's the biggest win is the emotional and the relational like buy-in that you get. And that's why honestly, so like I love your brand. I love Baggy, not just because you guys put out great stuff, but I like love you. You know what I mean? Because I know you, like we like chat in college, all that, like a fan of yours. Like I have friends who are starting like athletic brands, and I love their
Yeah.
stuff because it's good stuff, and also like I'm big fans of them, and so it's cool. Like that buy-in for me is coming just from like past relationships, but it's hard to build that with people who may just be customers without actually giving them some sort of community experience. So it's really cool what you're doing, man. It's awesome to see. I'm a big fan of what you've built with Baggy, and would love to, honestly, we can drop to in the show notes too, what you're doing with churches and maybe nonprofits too for rebuilding brands and all that. But thank you so much, dude, for being on the show. I always end it this way, maybe with like one more minute left. What are some ways that anybody listening to this show can like check out Baggy Golf, can follow along with you so that way you can, keep up with the story?
Yeah, no, like I said, my website would be for baggypantsgolf.com.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a website there with product and kind of a little bit about the story. And then through Instagram for Baggy, I don't do TikTok
Yeah.
or X. I don't know what Baggy would be doing on Twitter, but I have an Instagram that you can follow along drops and kind of what we're doing. And then if you really are wanting to hear kind of more about that community side, you can subscribe to our email newsletter. But a lot of that information, as we kind of build that side out, will be going out online over the next few months. And then just me personally on Instagram, I'm Dylan Rizzo. But yeah, dude, thank you so much for
Of
having
course,
me
man.
on, and
Yeah.
enjoy the conversation. I appreciate you supporting all the things I've been building the last few years, and maybe we can get a little trip out to the farm.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show. Really excited to post this one out.
Yeah, thank you, bro.